It's hard to believe that it's only been 4 years since this series was considered dead in the water. Between a game famous for turning one of the galaxy's best into the galaxy's bitch and having this game come out for the 30th anniversary, Metroid had basically gone an entire decade without a worthwhile game, which is more than enough time for a generation of people to just know her as a lady in Smash with a suit. And while there was a glimmer or two of hope, neither were big enough or close enough to truly be seen as a comeback. I think that's why when the Metroid Dread trailer was first shown, despite how good it looked, there was a sense of dread around it for the fans of the series. 14 years since the last decent Metroid game, 19 years since the last 2D Metroid game, and historically speaking, these games have sold practically nothing. Imagine being considered a gaming icon, having some of your games being considered the greatest of all time that set the standard, and still being worth financially less than Nintendogs or Connected Ventures. Metroid Dread looked great, but great doesn't matter here. This game doesn't need to just be great, it needs to be a masterpiece. Oh shit. Right from the beginning, it beats your ass down and sends you to the core where you're almost immediately face to face with one of these robotic assholes. The game's first few moments are dedicated to showing just how outmatched you are, with it being exemplified by the dark tone and heart-racing music. The tone of Dread is set better in 5 minutes than most games set in 2 hours. And the environments and level design, oh my god. We've seen environments like this in games before. We've got the water level, the lava level, the frozen level, the nature level, but the magic is all in the details. The enemy variety, the level mechanics shining through these detailed landscapes, all asking you to cleverly use your items and hinting at what your next power-up is going to be, all while teasing you with the upgrades just out of your reach, adding a level of determination to get your next power-up as fast as possible. Like in all Metroid games, a power-up isn't awesome because you have a new move, it's awesome because now that you have it, there's a whole new level of possibilities. Except here, it's taken even further for veterans, as power-ups that you'd normally get right at the beginning are saved for way later as you pass God knows how many areas where you could use it. And just when you think you have everything you need, bam, the game is one step ahead of you, rarely ever telling you where you need to go, but guiding you through its fantastic level design. Even if you do get lost, the map tells you everything you need to know about where to go based on the doors and environments, but it's up to you to determine where you can go based on what you have. Unless you know how to sequence break, in which case the game rewards you for being such a badass. This game has improved in every aspect of 2D Metroid to the 10th degree. Even the backtracking in this game doesn't suck. Backtracking has to be one of the shittiest things ever in games, and it was even worse in Metroid games, since you had this big ass environment with the most cryptic shit and some of the most useless maps that made working your way back to an area practically impossible without a guide or an actual map. But here, there are so many shortcuts you open up, so many methods of buttery smooth movement, so many upgrades in between backtracking sections that you are just blazing through the environments like it's nothing, only to have all that momentum replaced with anxiety as you come across the sections with the robots. These absolute dickheads just come in and turn Nintendo into the best horror game developers of all time, yet it somehow balances this out by making Samus look like the most badass person to ever exist. Can we talk about the bosses? The bosses are by far the coolest shit in the entire game. Every single one of them make the rest of the bosses in these games just look like a complete joke, both in terms of scale and difficulty. I mean, look at this. This is just the first boss, and it's the lamest one in the entire list. And then we have the story, which I'm not gonna say shit about because buy the damn game, but it's good. There's definitely less of it compared to Fusion except for 1 or 2 exposition dumps, but honestly, I think that's fine. Less interruptions to the gameplay. It hits that perfect balance between action and story that none of the previous Metroid games have reached so far. It's not a perfect game, but the number of things it gets right far outweighs the number of things it gets wrong. This isn't just a good game, this is the kind of game that's so good it brings other lesser games down a level. The game's developers said that there's more in the future planned, and honestly I can't wait to see what comes next. But for that to happen, and for Metroid to not go back in the hole for 10 years, this game has to sell good. So please, I'm begging you, if you guys are interested in this series at all, or if you don't want every other game to be a Mario or a Zelda thing, please, buy the goddamn game. And this one when it comes out too. Oh, and if you pirate this, fuck you. I'm gonna go play this game like 5 more times. No more game reviews till Elden Ring.